Welcome to episode 5, A Creator's Frequency. So, some things have recently happened in my life that I had to make some really tough decisions. Although the details are not important, what's important to know is that sometimes life just gives you things that don't really work out the way that you had hoped they would. And for me, it looked like I manifested the exact opposite of what I was actually desiring. And there's a lot of stuff that comes up when you feel like you messed up, when you feel like, wow, that's really not where I wanted to go. And when you kind of start to peel back the actual thoughts and the beliefs that you knew you were thinking, the ones that you were burying, the ones that you were avoiding, you have to kind of take a good hard look at yourself. And there's some responsibility that I felt like I had to take with it. And I'm not saying that you have to be responsible. However, it really does put you back in the driver's seat when you can kind of own it and take take responsibility for your creation, especially in a creator's frequency, because that's what we're talking about, is how to become a creator in your own life, how to create a reality that you want. And I'm human just like everyone else, and I make mistakes just like everyone else, and I get hard on myself just like everyone else. However, what I found was I get really hard on myself, and then that's when I stop allowing the things that I have been doing and working on to actually embody into creating my own reality. Because I'm not going to say that it's easy to live on default reality. For some people, it works. For some people, they like the consistency or the knowing that they have expectations and that they can meet them, and that works just fine for them. For me, it doesn't. For me, I want to be able to create my own reality. And in doing so, sometimes you have to take a step back. It's almost kind of like if you, I don't know, maybe you've seen somebody who is training in track, and they have their coach has tied a bungee cord to their waist and tell them to run forward with this bungee cord. And when you have a runner running one way and a coach holding the end of the bungee cord to them, and you have this really tight bungee cord between the runner and the coach, there's a lot of tension. Now, there's two ways that you can look at that. One is, it's building muscle for the runner. It's teaching the runner to increase their speed with the resistance. And this is exactly how I see the situation that I felt like I got myself in. When you do have something like this happen in your life, if I were to just take something and cut the bungee cord while it was stretched far out, then it would pop back and hit the trainer or the coach with all that force, and I would fall forward. So it's not necessarily a good idea to cut loose your resistance, rather than take some steps back and let go of the pressure. And that's exactly what I did. I let go of the pressure. I had to take some steps back and let go of the pressure. And this all happened because I asked for change. I asked for something to change in my life because I could tell there was an area where I was not creating the reality that I wanted. In fact, I was creating the exact opposite. So when you ask for change, expect it. And sometimes change isn't inevitable. And a lot of times you don't like what it looks like. You don't like what's showing up. You don't like the extra effort that you have to put into something. You've been ignoring something or avoiding something for so long that now you have to kind of play catch up a little bit. And it's not like it's a bad thing either. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself that I was not allowing in my life. I was not allowing receiving in the capacity that I wanted to be able to receive, not just from people around me. I mean, because when you ask somebody for help and they offer it to you, for me, there was a feeling of guilt, like I had failed, and now I have to ask for help. There's also receiving in the universe or from the universe or from the source or God or however you want to say it. There's also just that receiving on an energetic level. And by taking a step back, by releasing the pressure, by doing some things that I didn't really want to do, I kind of up-leveled. And that makes me really happy to see that it's okay to take a step back sometimes. It's okay to reevaluate. It's okay to renegotiate a contract. It's okay to look at your life from an observer perspective and say what's working and what's not working. For me, it felt like I didn't know my voice. Like I didn't know how to communicate certain things in my life in my voice, through my energy, through my rooted energy. And by taking a step back, by letting go of the pressure, I was able to find some areas in my life that really needed to be reconsidered, to be renegotiated. Sometimes things have to break apart before they can be built back up. And the way I see this is things have to break apart before they can be built back up, meaning the subconscious programming, the ego, the I want it my way. What is there for me? If I'm going to give this energy, then what is going to come back for me? And that is what needed to break apart. Like just some of the immaturity that we still have. And I'm not saying that I'm an immature person by any means. I have grown so much in my life by staying consistent with my practices and my processes and making them work for me. Well, I shouldn't say making them work for me, letting and allowing them to work for me and expanding into the me that I actually want to become in totality, the reality that I want to create in totality. And to be honest with you, it has nothing to do with having a financial empire or having all these material objects. These material objects are shiny things that make us, a lot of times, make us feel like we're in lack if we don't have them. But when you start to tear that down and start to see what's underneath, and you start to see what's behind the labels that you give things, that I've given things, what's behind the desires that I wanted for my life, the desires that on a time frame, that I wanted something done at a certain time, and then the emotions that were coming up that I was burying. And even in my programs, I talk about burying emotions, but sometimes what it feels like is your life looks really, really good, which mine looks really, really good. And then there's that one area where you're like not really paying attention to it. And so sometimes when you ask for change and you expect it, it's not always how you want it to look, and that's okay. So when you look at what's behind the labels and the desires and the emotions, what is left when you take the judgment of the situation away? What is left when you take any shame or guilt of the situation away? And there's two things that happen. You get to see how you've been acting, what you have been sending out energetically on an energetic level, and that all comes down to feelings. So when I look at the situation that I had found myself in, and I started to neutralize the feelings and the emotions and the thoughts that were coming up, and I started to reach out for help and realized that there were people who wanted to help me. There was people that were, I don't want to say on my side, but on my side, like they want to see me succeed. And when you go into a world and you feel like it's you fighting against the world, then that's what you're going to have. You're going to have you fighting against the world. But the change that I had asked for was to see my world as safe and to see that my world takes care of me and to have trust and faith in that. And back to the track and the track star and the bungee cord, I couldn't see that my world was taking care of me when I was so busy fighting it. And I don't mean busy fighting it like everything, like fighting this, fighting that. For me, it was avoiding certain feelings that were coming up. So I am a very feeling person. Feelings are very important to me. Feelings are extremely pivotal for me because I can tell within my body when I'm being coherent with what I'm actually saying. And I've always been able to do this, but I haven't always looked at the connection to, okay, I'm saying this, it sounds good coming out of my mouth, but there's something that doesn't feel right about it. And if you are a sensitive person, you're going to understand what I'm talking about. If you're not a sensitive person, it is a sensitivity that you can develop, and you just use your everyday experiences, whether you're sensitive or not, to say, am I getting the results that I want? Really, that's what it comes down to, is if I'm a reality creator and I have chosen to vibrate to a new level of frequency, am I being totally honest with myself? This is what you want to find and sit with as much as you can, is your own integrity, your own authenticity. That's what you're looking for. That is your voice. Your voice is your authenticity. And when you have this voice and you have a heart and mind coherency, you don't have to push. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to make things work. Things just start to work, and they can work fast. In fact, when I had this issue that I was going through, by getting in my own processes, by taking myself through my own mental processes and feeling processes, and really pulling things back to see what was underneath, and really getting down to the feeling that I had been burying, which I will tell you is really irrational. 9 times out of 10, when I have a subconscious feeling that is holding me back, that is causing a lot of resistance, and I actually say it out loud or I say it to somebody else, it sounds really, really irrational. Really like a little kid, honestly, like a little kid that's crying over spilt milk and feels like they just killed somebody. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that on YouTube or not, but I just did. So you get the point. Like these subconscious thoughts that can run havoc on our own level of consciousness, our own awareness, are just sometimes really irrational thoughts. And it's important for you to develop a process, finding your own process, so you can clear out these irrational thoughts that are actually running like programs in your reality creation. So you have to get really clear about what you want and then ask yourself, are you getting the results? Or are you just blowing smoke up your ass like a lot of people do? And I've done it too, many times. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I'm not ashamed to say, yeah, I've been blowing smoke up my ass. And however, that doesn't make me a bad person. It just tells me where I need to be more congruent with myself. Or to stop living by other people's standards that were placed upon me and that I took on as my own that really just aren't working for me anymore. So when you find your own voice, you find your truth. And that is a creator's frequency, is the definition that you give your voice and your own truth. And if you do happen to be sensitive to it, then you are already ahead of the game, especially if you're listening to the incongruencies and the congruencies with what you're saying out loud to yourself, all of it. So when you ask for change, expect it and let it happen for you, and find the advantage in all of it. Find the advantage in whatever's happening. Take responsibility. Honestly, that is probably one of the hardest but the most effective steps you can do, is take responsibility and say, somehow I created this because I am the creator of my reality. So I'm taking responsibility for all that I have created. And you got to let go of old perspectives and labels and judgments and shame and guilt, and know that your world is taking care of you. If this is what you want, when you get clear about what you want, you're not saying, oh, I'm going to get clear about winning the lottery, or I'm going to get clear about finding my special person. Because when you die, you're not taking any of that money with you, and you're not taking your special person with you. You're taking you with you. And if you can live with you, then the world can live with you. So, as I just go to close this, I just want to remind you that when you ask for change, expect it. Don't judge the outcomes, and try to find the advantage in all of it.